Senator Wyden.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Along with Senator Bennett, I serve on the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence. And as a result of this position, I have access to a tremendous array of secrets, enormous challenges for the country, and I have been able to excavate the news that today is Senator Crapo's birthday. So we're going to have a spirited hearing.
Thank you very much, Senator Wyden.
We salute our colleague as we begin. It's clear that Donald Trump sees the IRS as a tool that he can use to help himself, his friends, and hurt his enemies. To run the IRS, he's chosen Billy Long, one of his earliest supporters in Congress. At this morning's hearing, I assume we'll hear a lot of sweet-sounding promises about enhancing fairness and efficiency at the IRS and working together to improve morale. Here's the problem. Donald Trump is only concerned about his own power. Congressman Long is a MAGA devotee who claims that he coined the phrase Trump train. So when Donald Trump says he wants to weaponize the IRS, there is no evidence that Congressman Long will be making a bold stand in front of the locomotive to protect the agency's independence. The nominee's record on tax issues is thin. There was a bill to abolish the IRS and institute a nationwide sales tax. There were demands for investigations of the Humane Society and the Clinton Foundation. Not much else. If you expand the enemies list, that's the bulk of the Trump tax agenda in a nutshell. Much of Congressman Long's experience with taxes came after he left Congress, when he dove headlong into the tax scam industry. Cashing in on the credibility of his election certificate, he raked in referral fees, steering clients to firms that sold fake tax shelters and pushed small businesses to unknowingly commit tax fraud. So I'm going to take these cases one at a time. Congressman Long's financial disclosure shows $65,000 in income paid by a firm called White River Energy. Financial advisors at White River sold investors tax shelters known as tribal tax credits. The thing is, no such tax credit exists. It was a fraud. Finance Committee staff asked the IRS about these credits, and here's what the IRS told us, and I quote directly. We can confirm that these tax credits do not exist. Taxpayers who claim credits that don't exist are subject to penalties and possible examination. Furthermore, promoters of these credits may be subject to civil or criminal penalties. That is the end of the quote from the IRS. Committee investigators sought an explanation from Congressman Long about his role in this scheme. He refused to answer. Investigators sent a long list of questions to White River. No reply. It looks to me like practically everybody went into some kind of witness protection program. That said, there's a follow the money angle here as well, and the sequence of events is particularly troubling. Donald Trump announced the congressman's nomination on December 4th. On December 19th, Bloomberg published an article about White River's scheme. It was called Rich People Buy Tribal Tax Credits Treasury Says Don't Exist. White River's phone lines must have blown up. The CFO, Jay Puchier, held a call that same afternoon with 100 or more investigators who were questioning the legitimacy of the tax credits they'd been sold. Mr. Puchier didn't have a lot to offer in the way of assurances that the tribal tax credits were legitimate, but he did tell them they'd soon have friends at the IRS who'd take the heat off. Then, in mid-January, the folks down at White River decided it was time to whip out their checkbooks and start donating to the congressman's long-dormant Senate campaign. It still had outstanding debt dating back 2.5 years. More than $165,000 poured into campaign coffers the vast majority of it from tribal tax credit promoters, including those at White River. Out of that total, $130,000 went directly into the congressman's pockets when he paid back his personal loans. Colleagues, this just looks corrupt, and I've asked the IRS to investigate. But that's not the only tax scam the committee needs to address. Back in the darkest days of the pandemic, the Congress created a program called the Employee Retention Tax Credit. It was designed to help struggling small businesses stay afloat. It made a lot of sense then. It saved jobs at a time when the unemployment rate was in the stratosphere. The problem arrived after the pandemic receded. That's when a whole bunch of scam artists twisted the program into a fire hose of fraud. Promoters set up mills that told small businesses to claim the credit even when they knew these businesses didn't qualify. The mills took a cut of the benefit. The congressman worked as a promoter for a few of these mills. Lifetime Advisors and Commerce Terrace Consulting was one. He spoke publicly in recorded interviews about pushing small business clients to file ERTC claims that their CPAs told them they did not qualify for. In one such appearance, he stated that, quote, everybody qualifies, and that, colleagues, is just untrue. The nominee bragged about getting this emergency tax credit for a funeral home, despite the fact that the business was booming for funeral homes during the pandemic. Taxpayers have lost billions and billions of dollars to improper claims and outright fraud with the ERTC. In all likelihood, my guess is some of that could have wound up in the congressman's pockets. These ERTC mills that push clients into making improper claims have put these small business owners in serious legal jeopardy. That, in my view, is unforgivable. And somebody who's been involved in that has no place working at the IRS. Finally, Finance Committee investigators gave the congressman and the firms he partnered with the opportunity to prove that everything they did was on the level. They refused. So, colleagues, I'll just say, I wish the hearing could be about improving efficiency and taxpayer service. But that kind of discussion is sort of out of touch, given what I have just described here this morning. Donald Trump wants to use the IRS as a cudgel to beat his adversaries into submission. He wants to feed its legally protected data to mass squads of agents disappearing people off the streets. His nominee to lead the agency is a Trump loyalist through and through, not somebody who is an independent tax professional. And our serious concerns that we have asked, and a number of colleagues have done so, about Congressman Long's involvement with fraudulent tax schemes have gone unanswered. So today, the American people have the right to know whether their future IRS commissioner is somebody who's been a crook. That's what our focus ought to be. I look forward to question and answers.
Thank you, Senator Wyden.